Welcome back to the Yes We Can podcast. Today, I have one of my very close friends on, Anna Prosser. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can't wait to share, I can't wait for Anna and I to talk about her amazing story. And hopefully you guys listen, understand, and it provides hope because it's a really unique story. So Anna, why don't we just go ahead, introduce yourself, kind of where you are, what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, I'm Anna, and I'm a stay-at-home mom with a 3-year-old, and I'm married to my husband, Johnny, and I also coach fitness part-time at Orange Theory, so that's kind of where I'm at in life now. Basically, I'm a mom.
Yes, you are a mom.
Yeah.
And Anna and I met, our friendship started, in 2016, at the very beginning of 2016.
Yes.
So Anna, my friend Joanna Hayden, who I talk about her a lot, and myself all joined Cycle Bar Chesterfield when it very first opened. We auditioned and made it as instructors.
Yes.
And so we went through training together, so 2016. And at the time, you were 5 years out.
Not even 5. 2 years out.
Okay, of?
Lymphoma.
Yes. So at the age of?
I was diagnosed at 33.
At 33 with lymphoma. Can we talk about how you got diagnosed? And just so you viewers know, it was very foreign to me. Cancer, close to my family and friends, was very foreign to me. I could tell you were an amazing person, and you don't really talk about it a lot unless someone asks. But what you've been through and where you are today with that miracle baby, I think hopefully is encouraging to a lot of you, whether you're going through a cancer diagnosis, extreme depression, anything, that's challenging, because there's all sorts of things that present themselves in life, especially as we get older, that you are a walking miracle. Your story is amazing. So I want to make sure that people truly understand what happened and where you are today. Yeah. Because it's very inspiring.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yes.
I'm always happy to share however I can help people, but I do, you're right. Like, I have more of a quiet way of going about it, and everyone handles it differently, and that's just my personality and the way I do it. But I'm so happy to be here today.
Thank you.
Good to talk to you about it.
I know.
And hopefully help somebody out there.
Well, surely, I believe that everything is meant to be, so our paths crossing, you've become a very good friend of mine. You've helped me through all 3 of my babies.
Yes.
I'm close with your mom, and your little boy, I feel like, is an extension of our family as well. I'm going to cry on the show.
Yeah.
You truly have been there for me through, tough times. So anyway, now I'm crying. Let's talk about what happened. You were in your early 30s, bebopping around.
Oh my gosh, I was in the best season of my life. I had just taken a huge jump, shifted careers into fitness.
From
I was in more of an administrative role before that.
Yeah.
So I'd gotten in the best shape of my life, in my prime, loving, living life to the fullest.
Yes, 33 years old, bebopping around.
Connected with Johnny, my husband. So we
wasn't a husband at the time.
No.
Just reconnected with Johnny. Okay.
It's part of the story.
Yes.
But we had gotten engaged. It was the end of 2013. Then, because I was in great shape, taking care of myself, I was in tune to my body. Like, I felt great. But then things, I started not feeling great. And I noticed it mostly in my workouts. I actually would spin with my doctor.
And,
yeah,
so we
spinning.
teach spinning, indoor cycling.
I was actually wanting to become a spin instructor.
Yeah.
That was like my next thing I wanted to do. I wanted to teach spinning. Anyway, so I just wasn't feeling good. I wasn't breathing well. I had this cough. I couldn't run like I was running before. It was just hard to work out.
All of a sudden, nothing else changed. All of a sudden, you just became short of breath. You're like, this is different. Nothing changed.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, these symptoms started occurring.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and
you started
this cough was happening. And then all of a sudden, it's like, do I have bronchitis? Like, what's happening here? So I felt really bad. I went into work out on a Saturday morning. I chatted with her after, like, hey, I just don't feel good.
Your doctor.
My doctor.
So she was working out with her doctor. Serendipitous. Call it what you'd like. And after your workout, where were you working out?
Oh, back in the day, 24-hour fitness.
Okay, 24-hour fitness.
So she's like, okay, go home, rest, take this, this, and this over the counter. If you don't feel better on Monday, call me. Well, I got a fever on Sunday. I debated to go to urgent care, but I just waited it out to go see her on Monday, which I did. And then, I sounded fine, but
your chest sounded fine.
But she had done, this is why it's so important, and I know you advocate this all the time, but I do want to just stress again, get a doctor that you have a good relationship with, that you can be completely open with, and you have these yearly, twice a year exams, blood work, so they have a reference. So she did a chest x-ray, which she didn't really, there wasn't a need by the way I sounded, but she did it, and she had done one 6 months before that, and she basically looked at it and said, what the heck, did I miss something back in July? And she had it. There was nothing there in July. And then 6 months later, I had this mass in my chest, sent me straight up to a scan.
Mass?
Yes.
In your chest?
Yes. I don't even remember the exact size, but it was right here. Yeah. So, a scan led to a biopsy, led to labs, led to the following Saturday, phone call from my doctor. You have large B-cell lymphoma. So, this was 2013. So much has changed between social media and awareness with young adults getting cancer, younger and younger. So at the time, I didn't know. I was so clueless.
Right. In disbelief, too,
yeah.
sure.
I mean, my grandpa had cancer, but you always thought of, your grandparents
people,
getting cancer, not.
That's kind of how it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, within a week, I was diagnosed, and
so being your own advocate, right? That's step one, right? Knowing your body. So I do advocate for this.
Yes.
To really be as healthy as you possibly can be. It starts with how you're eating, right? You were very aware of what was going in your body, how you were feeling working out, right? So if we all do that. So I talk a lot about our bodies being gifts, right? Especially after Kyle got sick, my late husband. I believe if everybody can be more conscious about what they put in their mouth and know their body, because the cleaner you eat, the better you're going to know your body, right? You were eating super clean, working out, you knew everything about your body.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And so then you knew something was wrong. Whereas if you're not healthy and you have chest pain and there's all these things wrong, it could just be you're overweight, you've been treating your body like crap, it's reacting.
Junk in your body.
Putting junk in your body. You can't expect it to work well. So that's another reason I advocate, and I'm a health and wellness coach, is you got to get people healthy first, because then you can catch cancer, hopefully before it doesn't take your life.
Exactly.
Right? So you get this diagnosis. What's Johnny thinking at this point? You guys are engaged to get married?
Yes. We are getting ready to send out invitations.
For your wedding?
Yeah. So, life just kind of stops. I also, so I didn't have medical insurance, and so we won't get into the insurance talk today, but that threw kind of a curveball, because once again, my mom said, you know what, you just shifted jobs, you're getting married in just a couple months, you're the healthiest person in our family, just write it out.
Write it out.
So this basically led us to go into the courthouse, because we had done the research. We knew once we were married, I'd go right onto his insurance, and I was basically about to jump into chemo, radiation. We didn't know.
So you didn't have to do blood work or anything to join his insurance?
No, not then, no.
Praise God.
Yes, it was immediate. We went to the courthouse, got our marriage license, went to our pastor's house at the time, who was new to us, and I have so much love for him in my heart. We shared our story, and he was like, yeah, we're doing this.
Oh,
yeah.
I got the chills all the way down.
He was wonderful. He was just so gracious. It was just such a God moment.
Totally. And there's totally a reason you and Johnny reconnected. So you knew Johnny from the past?
Yes.
Dated him in the past?
No, friends. Same friend circles.
And then started dating, decided that you guys were each other's person. You're engaged.
Yeah.
You get cancer, so you get married at the courthouse.
At our pastor's house, basically. We signed our license.
Amazing.
Just signed it. We didn't say vows or anything.
Let's get married. We're getting married. Done. Moving. Cancer takes precedence. So if you ever have not had cancer close in your family, everything else goes on the back burner.
Yeah. And for me, I also I trained a little bit through my treatment, but I put all my energy into just getting better.
And what was your thought? When you get diagnosed, what goes through your head, Anna?
Gosh, I'm trying to see if I can even still remember. You know me quite well. Like, I have a pretty positive outlook on life.
Yes.
I just feel like people would be like, how are you not sad? How are you not like in your bed with your covers over your head crying?
Right.
Like, I had my moments. We all have our
course.
moments, and I can remember some of those like vividly, but I feel like it's the way God made me. I'm wired that way.
Thank goodness.
A lot of it, yeah. Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
But it's just the way I choose to take life on. So I just never saw myself not getting through it. And my diagnosis, like, no matter what kind of cancer, you never want to hear that word.
Of course.
But the doctor did say, you know, this is highly treatable, but it was a long road. And
it was not easy.
No, and I hit a rock bottom place midway through that where they basically said my body wasn't responding to the treatment, where I was in the ICU. I had passed out at a restaurant, like on Johnny's birthday.
Johnny's birthday.
Happy birthday.
There's
always
something.
But so I was in the ICU. That was probably, if I had a scary moment, I never thought I wasn't going to make it again. I never had that thought.
And do you think that was God? You think your faith and trust in God helped you there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
And I had a lot of people praying for me, even though I was quiet. Again, social media was in a totally different place there. I don't know how I would do it. I mean, it had been differently, but I had taken myself off of a lot of things, and everyone was aware. I wasn't a secret. I wasn't secretive, but I knew I had a lot of people out there praying for me.
Right.
I felt the love. I felt the
power
support.
of prayer, 100%.
Yeah.
So another question. Now, this is a really personal question, but obviously you and Johnny were planning to get married. Had you guys talked about having kids?
Yes.
Like, you wanted kids. You felt called to be a mom. And when you got this diagnosis, did that flash before your eyes?
Yes. I'm glad you brought this up because this is obviously super, super big part of my life now. But my doctor is wonderful. If you need a primary care doctor.
Yeah, what's her name?
Let me know. Dr. Christina Scale at St. Luke's.
St. Luke's,
yeah.
Okay.
So I saw her on that Monday. I got scanned. After my diagnosis, so it was 1 week later, she's like, hey, you and Johnny come into my office. Let's meet. Let's talk before I connect you with the oncologist. One of the first things she said was, and again, I was clueless because this didn't happen.
Right.
She basically said you would have a very low chance of ever conceiving, having a baby because of all the chemo. She knew the road through it with all the chemo treatments was going to be a lot of my body.
The likelihood was very, very small.
So she sent me to another doctor, fertility doctor, Dr. Silber at St. Luke's, who this was very experimental, but he did ovarian tissue transplants. So we watched the videos, the information, and it was basically a no-brainer for us to move forward with it. I wasn't in a position to do IVF because even though it was treatable, it was aggressive. So I was having spells of like passing out, and I ended up in the ER a couple times. Like, this was all leading up to chemo. Like, chemo started within like 3 or 4 weeks, but the 3 or 4 weeks was hard. Like, like there's a lot going on in your body and you don't know what's happening. And
in your mind.
It's taking over. So I basically had the surgery to remove one of my ovaries, where they preserve that tissue.
How quickly after diagnosis did this happen?
Within probably 2 weeks.
Would you say that's typical for other people, or is it because you were close to your doctor?
I would think now it would be typical. I mean, it's been 10 years.
Yeah,
I know there's, oh my gosh. So there's so much more awareness with fertility and cancer out there now. Yeah, so I think that it was pretty typical. Like, and this doctor advocates too. Like, he, if you've got a diagnosis, like, he will get you in there.
And who is that?
Dr. Silber.
Dr. Silber?
Silber, yeah. Sherman Silber.
Now, go ahead.
He's a well-known fertility doctor in St. Louis.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that treatment that he did with you, the experimental treatment, is that mainstay now? Do you know?
You know what? I'm not really sure. Yes, he still does it now. Okay. And it's becoming more prevalent, like more talked about. There might be other fertility clinics that do it.
Okay.
I know some doctors are against it. They say it doesn't work. but it worked for me.
It did work for you. And that we will get there, and you're going to be like, everyone's going to be like gripping their chair like with chills because, and even as a friend watching you go through this, because we were like fast friends.
Yeah,
Us
we
three
were.
and Joanna,
Yeah.
like there was a kindred, something like our spirits, all of a sudden it was like, you're my person, you're one of my people.
I always say you and Joanna are the best two things that came out of teaching a cycle bar. I
100%. Yeah.
I met a lot of great people, but.
Yeah. And just so you guys know, if you don't know Joanna Hayden, her story's wild, but she also was diagnosed with cancer years later. But it all started with Anna. Everything happens in threes, right? You, Joanna, and then my husband. So crazy. So anyway.
Yes.
We continue. So that treatment, they took an ovary out.
Yes.
Okay.
So every cancer diagnosis is different. So I just, with the fertility aspect, just talk to somebody. Like, that's the biggest thing. Just if you are wanting to have a baby, just ask the questions. Go to a fertility doctor. WashU was great. There's so many great doctors in St. Louis. So, because Joanna went a different route, which we won't do a spoiler on that. That'll come later.
She'll come on the show at some point,
But yeah, so they took an ovary out. They preserved the tissue. It went in a freezer. My mom would say, Junior's in the freezer.
Junior. Oh, my gosh. I love your mom. We should have her on the show.
You should.
I know.
She would be great. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. And it was in the freezer for several years. So when we met, you were pregnant with Cora.
Yes.
And I was getting ready for my first surgery to have my tissue implanted back.
Okay.
Like, you didn't know that about me.
No.
But in my head, like, that was coming.
So what happens is your tissue's in the freezer.
Yes.
And we're going to have to talk layman terms with me because I'm not a scientist.
Yes.
So the tissue's in the freezer. You're about to have surgery where they're going to take some of that tissue.
Yeah. So we'll back up just a second to wrap up. So, before I got to that point, cancer, it was basically 2014. I ended 2014 with a stem cell transplant.
Stem cell transplant.
Yes. Because, just to kind of, again, I wasn't responding to the treatment, and that was basically, that's when I shifted assignment.
So did you get radiation?
Yes, a month of radiation.
A month of radiation first on your chest?
Yes.
Okay, what was that like?
Not bad, honestly.
Okay.
It was the proton therapy assignment, so they just target where it needs to go.
So at what point did St. Luke's transfer you to Siteman?
About midway through.
Okay, midway through.
Treatment. I'd had 3 or 4 treatments at St. Luke's.
Treatments meaning chemo.
Chemo. So I was it was hardcore. I was admitted to the hospital for 3 or 4 nights. It was a slow drip, continuous drip with multiple drugs. Like, I chose the heavy duty route. I had a choice.
You were like, go big or go home.
Whoever knew you would be like choosing chemo regimens. No, I'm like, let's get this done. Yeah. So like in July, I'm expecting to go in for a scan and be like, okay, you're good, it's gone. But that wasn't the case because, cancer it's just cancer. Does its own thing.
So what was Johnny like this whole time? Was he, because a lot of people, spouses, caregivers, family members, it's a huge shock on everybody. Yes. The cancer patient, the family surrounding, it's like there's a disbelief. Like, it takes a while for it to sink in and realize, and then your brain starts going, what am I going to do without this person? You know what I mean? What do you say? What do you do? What do you think? So, was Johnny just kind of speechless and, there what he could? What, you know what I mean?
Well, I feel like the timing, just God's timing of us getting together, leading up to this diagnosis, me connecting with my doctor, leading into us getting married, he was in my life for a reason.
No question.
I would have been alone. I had my family, but I had been in a big life change.
Right.
So he was there. He was very supportive. He's got a funny side to him that I feel like a lot of people don't see. So he would make me laugh a lot.
Yeah.
The day we shaved my head, that was a hard moment.
Yeah.
But he made it really fun. We put the wig. I was trying on wigs, and he put them on with me, and we have pictures of us in the mirror. But I know it was hard on him too. He would definitely say, especially that mid-treatment point where we kind of hit rock bottom before we went back up and got transferred to Siteman. I know it was hard. It was definitely hard on him.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to skip your treatment. I was just excited about the tissue.
No, but I also didn't want to get too far ahead.
No, that makes total sense. Sometimes you have to reel it back. So,
no.
A month of radiation.
Yes. Yeah.
No chemo at that point. Did that shrink the tumor at all?
They probably would have said that I was, which they didn't use that term, no evidence of disease. Then I guess they would just use remission.
Okay.
Then my scans would show that I was in remission.
The tumor was gone.
Yes, it was stable. It was gone or non-active. I'm not exactly sure the terms.
Okay.
But the plan was a month of radiation into a stem cell transplant. So I never thought about not doing this transplant because I'd heard of stories of people having lymphoma or the blood cancers and they coming back. So I'm like, again, let's just get this done.
Now, for me, who doesn't really know much about stem cell transplants, can you give me a quick debrief?
Yeah, quick. You go in. I had where they took my own cells. So allo, you can either have a donor. You hear about stem cell donors. So it just depends on your diagnosis. But I was able to use my own cells. So you go in. It's called pheresis. You're hooked up to a machine. They extract your blood cells. And so they take out what they need. I'm not very good at explaining it anymore. Like,
of course.
Kind of like this distant memory.
Thank goodness it's a distant memory.
But anyway, I used my own cells.
Okay.
Then you get admitted to the hospital. I was admitted on Thanksgiving Day.
What year?
2014.
Okay.
So still 14. And so you have heavy, like the most hardcore chemo you could possibly have. Like without getting your cells back or the donor cells, then I don't know if you would recover from it. So they have like transplant day, which a lot of people think of as like a rebirth or, so they, it's a big deal. After this hardcore chemo, they put the cells back in your body and then you begin to recover and your counts go back up. And
how often does that work?
I don't know the numbers on it now. I would think with allo, when you use your own cells, I would think the statistics are pretty high.
But you had hope. Like this was this is going to help.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. And then you wait. You're in the hospital for about 3 weeks.
In the hospital for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You were at Siteman?
Yes.
On the 10th floor?
I don't
11th floor?
One of those.
Those are the chemo oncology floors,
one
unfortunately.
Of those. Yeah. I had my little Christmas tree in there and yeah.
Anna. Like, I'm wondering, like, was there a risk, like, maybe it wasn't going to work? Or that wasn't even...
There is, but if there was a big risk, I was unaware.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm still kind of like...
looking at the positive, focusing on the positive.
Yes.
I am going to beat this. Mm-hmm. No question. Like, you didn't even leave room for negativity.
No.
To the best of your ability. You stayed positive and...
Yeah.
Okay, so then what? You're in the hospital for a month.
Then
Thanksgiving, Christmas time.
Then it's like Christmas. Okay, here I am. And you're just kind of like getting back to life. So I remember the day I went to Target for the first time. Like, oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Was your cancer gone?
Well, you wait 100 days, and then they scan and do labs. So
and no chemo. So they blast you with chemo, let you recover. Mm-hmm. Then 100 days later, they scan you again.
Yes.
And everyone's like,
yes.
Okay.
So, and then I had complete response. They called it like complete response to the transplant. So
amazing.
Yeah.
So then everyone's high.
Yeah. Yes.
And then
you're like, what do I do with my life?
Yeah.
So we just move forward. I get back into fitness, and
that was it.
We had
Wow.
Yes, we had.
But at what point did you not have a response? What is that low point? When was that?
That was July. So February I was diagnosed. July was the low point.
When they didn't think you were responding to the initial chemo?
Yes. And then the fall was radiation. Thanksgiving to Christmas was the stem cell transplant.
So you had radiation twice?
Just once.
Okay.
Yes.
So they did chemo after your initial diagnosis. Yes. Standard of care chemo. Uh-huh. You didn't respond.
Started not responding.
Did not respond because cancer learns the treatment essentially because cancer sucks. Then they're like, all right, let's do radiation. Mm-hmm. Stem cell transplant. Retrieval.
Yes. That was the very first thing.
I guess I meant like retrieval of your cells.
Oh, yes, yes.
Who's calling me from
Cells,
California?
ovaries, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so then the stem cell transplant works.
Mm-hmm.
Come January 2015, you're like, let's go.
Yeah.
January, February, whatever.
Yeah.
Beginning of the year.
Yes. Yeah. So we had a ceremony.
Okay, so that's when the wedding,
Yes,
ceremony.
we had a ceremony, very intimate. We said our vows. I wore my dress. I already had it picked out.
You were wearing a wig or your hair grew back? At what
wig.
point did your wig?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any picture you see on my social media in my wedding dress is my wig.
Okay.
Yeah. I finally lost the wig in, I think, May. I was done.
Your hair grew. So your hair grew back. At what point did you take the wig off? Like
so
like your hair was this length?
Yeah, like I ended the end of the year. No, it was buzzed. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You have to show you a show you a picture. No, it was like a little buzz cut.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you just rocked that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, thank God I am here,
Yes.
that my hair is growing back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I just started working in fitness again and getting back in shape. I lost all my muscle. I worked out the best I could throughout treatment.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard, really hard.
Eating, what did you eat during treatment?
I mean, one of the first things I bought, one of my dear friends went out and bought me a juicer.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to do all the things,
Yeah.
vegan, juicing,
Yeah.
tart cherry juice.
Yeah.
But it's all in balance too.
Right.
So I just did my best.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but then back to the fertility, I wanted to make sure I was in the clear. So it was about 2 years of scans before I decided to seek the road of getting my tissue back and making sure that, my hormones, I really was at a place where I would need it. So because chemo often sends women into early menopause.
Which is a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah, we don't even need to open that
For you
jar.
women or men, if you have a partner, just so you know, women are hormones. They are a beast. Aside from everything else we got going on in life, it's serious. It's not just a joke, oh, women are PMSing. For real.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. And
Real
then then we're talking about a 30-year-old who's wanting to have a family, meets the love of her life, cancer, thrown into menopause, and you have this tissue frozen in a freezer and
Somewhere.
And is there a time ticking? Like, is there a time? Like, does that tissue go bad? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
It's experimental.
yes, very experimental at this point.
So you go through the first, after 2 years of clear scans, you're like, all right, Johnny, let's put this tissue back in, which is an invasive surgery. It's not
invasive.
bad.
I mean, it's a night in the hospital, but they graft it back on to your existing ovary. It takes time, several months before your body starts functioning, getting all the hormones regulated, periods happening.
So are you getting hormone replacement or just the tissue goes
just the
back in?
tissue. This doctor is he advocates, let life take its course, Mother Nature, what God created our bodies to do. So and the goal is for it to happen naturally, to get pregnant once this tissue's back.
But you're starting menopause.
Well, yes. Well, before I got the tissue back, I went through labs. I went off the hormones I was on to confirm that I was perimenopause, and I was. But once the tissue came back, hormones start coming back. So basically my body, from the time I finished treatment, my body was up and down. I'm in perimenopause. Oh, wait, I have this tissue transplant. Now my hormones are coming back and everything's happening as it should. But then it stopped doing that. So I had 2 ovarian tissue transplants. Yes.
Talk about a roller coaster.
Yes.
And by the way, you're a woman who's a fitness instructor.
Yes.
What are you what is my body doing? Thank God there's no cancer, but now there's got to be these things going through your head.
Oh my gosh, it was so hard because again, I'd been in the best shape of my life, and it's been such a fight to get back to where I want to be. Physically, I know I take care of myself. I'm in good shape, but or there's always somewhere else we want to be. But it's been a fight.
Totally. And then what I'm thinking is the mental piece, the mental health piece. When you're depressed or anxious, it's hard to do anything. And I don't know what you're a pretty chill. one of my most chill friends, whereas I'm like, woo, 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 you know, but like, I'm just thinking like, there had to be some depression or something, some low mood that takes place. And like, then there comes in like, I don't want to work out. I'm tired. I just want to lay down. I'm exhausted from the chemo. Like, all that come into play at all?
I mean, I'm sure there were, you know, again, I am a pretty even keel person, but you do have, I'm human too. Of course I have down moments, but it was just hard. I think the hormone up and down affected me more than anything.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Affects your mood. I mean, I complain about PMDD before my period, but that's a week of, or menstrual cycle, that's a week of down. Like, I can't imagine, like, just the up and down you went through. And then Johnny's like, my wife. What, you know? Like, what are all these hormonal, you know? I just, so I digress.
It's all good.
Okay, so then you go through, after 2 years of clear scans, you put the tissue in, you have to wait, and then what? What are you waiting for?
And then waiting for periods to come back. Like, that's a sign that my body is responding, oh, I could get pregnant now.
Okay. So there's also this infertility piece, which a lot of women go through.
And women go through it without cancer.
That's my point.
I mean,
a lot of women go through that nowadays. And a lot of people don't talk about it. I just was talking with my friend the other day, and she and her husband were like, yeah, we might have another kid, and they already have the most beautiful children, you know, and their youngest is like one of my kids' ages, and she's like, yeah, we might try again. I was like, what? And she's like, well, yeah, you know, we had 3 miscarriages. And I was like, taken back. Like, I just, like, tears start flowing. Like, no, I had no idea. And they want to continue to procreate and bring beautiful humans into this world. It's just, it touches so many more people than we realize.
So many.
So here you are. Beat cancer. You beat it. You're a thriver. And you're like, all right, Johnny,
we'd love to have a baby.
Have a baby.
I mean.
Okay, so first tissue goes in, then what happens?
First tissue goes in, you know, my body starts responding, but things weren't happening.
Like, you guys are actively trying. You're getting periods.
Yes.
They're regular or no?
Yes, I think so.
Regular-ish?
Yeah.
Are you doing the temperature thing, like all that?
No, I'm not that hardcore.
Okay. Well, that's what I wonder, because some people
but then its period stopped, and you know, I met with my doctor. I kind of lose track of like the timeline, what year this was, but I believe it was maybe 2018. He's like, well, we have more tissue. So because this was such an experimental procedure, there's glitches, and they figured some glitches out, how they transfer the tissue. And, you know, he basically said, I think if we put all of it back in and we tweaked the procedure a bit where it's not exposed to the air too much and all these little things, you know, let's give it another go. So I had a second ovarian tissue transplant.
So are these, Anna, covered by insurance? Are you guys paying cash because it's an experiment? Because there's a financial piece that people don't talk about either.
There's a huge financial piece.
A huge financial piece.
Yes. So initially, it was covered because of my diagnosis. Okay. Dr. Silber is gracious, very gracious man, waived his fee because of my diagnosis.
Amazing.
The hospital, I think they initially waived it, or there was a very gracious, like, financial, like, coverage.
Yeah.
But then when it was time to get the tissue back in, Dr. Silber still waived his fee, but the hospital did not. So, and you have, for fertility treatments at the time, again, I don't know if it's changed because there's way more awareness around fertility these days, but you also had to pay out of pocket up front.
And for most people,
again, we didn't plan, we were thrown into cancer, so we weren't like your typical, where you like, talk about your fight, you know, it's just like, wham, bam, here you go. So, yeah.
I mean, it sends a lot of people into bankruptcy. People lose their homes, their cars. I mean,
their savings.
You don't hear about that.
No.
You don't hear about it.
And we were able to do it.
Right, because Johnny had a great job and he was able to continue to work. But, like, a lot of families are dual income.
Yes.
And when you lose one of those incomes, and then you still feel called to be a mom and have a family, and you're not going to let cancer take that away from you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that people don't talk about, that it needs to be talked about.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's and you know what they say, the number one stressor with husband and wife is financial. And then sickness, you not only add sickness and the financial piece, it's like, it's hard for people to stay together.
Yeah.
without these stressors.
Right. Yeah.
Gosh, Anna, I just can't even. I'm like sweating. I'm so worked up about this. Okay, so it does cost you to get the tissue put in the second time. The hospital fees.
Yes, to get the tissue put back in both times. So I had it implanted back in twice.
So the second time.
So the first time was, the summer of 2016. Then a couple years later, I had it implanted again. I believe that was the beginning of 2018. Still, we're going 2019.
Nothing.
Still nothing. So I seek help. I go to WashU Fertility Clinic, got connected with amazing doctors there. And basically, because of all my body had been through, when I thought I should be ovulating, I wasn't. She's like, well, you haven't even ovulated yet. Like, it was just.
At all?
No. Like, I had, but it was happening later in the month than I expected it to.
Okay.
I thought it was. Anyway. So, basically, I ended up getting pregnant. Did have a miscarriage. You remember? So, and it was very. It was considered ectopic, so it was very early. I mean, there was never really like the sac. They never really saw anything. So it was very early on. So
ectopic is where it goes into the fallopian tube.
Yeah, but mine was not. There's like some very severe ectopic pregnancies, like that can be like life-threatening. Mine was not.
But the point is, you got pregnant.
Yes, I did get pregnant.
And you knew it.
And I knew it.
And you guys were excited.
Yes.
And then a miscarriage.
We canceled a trip because of it.
Yeah.
But then I miscarried pretty quickly. So, but going through all this, though, we thought about life without kids. We would have been fine, completely fine. But we still, it was still in both of our hearts.
Yeah, you felt called to be, yes. I know that. I know what that feeling is.
So I just let my body rest. COVID happens. I reach back out to my fertility doctors, kind of like.
And there's a little bit of tissue left at this point in that freezer.
No, I have it all now. I still have it all. It's still there.
All the tissue's there.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. So basically, got reconnected to my fertility doctor at WashU. We decided to go the IUI route, which I don't remember all the statistics, but IUIs, they're not very likely to work. I forget the percentages.
They implant sperm or an embryo?
Not the embryo.
Okay.
Sperm.
They put it in.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did do 2 IUIs, and the second one worked. Yeah.
Because I remember I wish now, you can't change the past, but I could have been more supportive of you. I just didn't understand.
No, you don't. And that's okay. Well, it's just like being a mom. I think about all my mom friends now. And I know I was, like you said, I was there for all 3 of your babies. Yeah. But I was, now that I have my own, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have done so much more. Yeah. And all my friends who have had kids, you
don't know unless you...
You don't know till you go through it.
And I did feel supported by you. I mean, I think I have a picture of you and all my babies in the hospital.
Yes.
And bringing over
smoothies and whatever.
Yeah.
Salad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I had my second IUI the day, I don't know if I ever told you this, the day that Dane was born.
Oh my gosh.
Is that crazy? And Dane and Coleman are 9 months apart.
Okay, now I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
And they're little besties.
Yeah, they're so cute.
They love each other so much. Wow, Anna.
Mm-hmm.
And now Coleman is 3. He just turned 3. We just celebrated his 3rd birthday. And you two are thick as thieves.
So, oh my gosh.
Like a miracle.
Yeah, he's amazing. My mom always references Ephesians 3:20, baby. I can't even think of the verse right now. That's a very well-known verse. But he's so much more than we ever could have thought or imagined.
And all you've been through.
Yeah.
And now you have this miracle child who looks like you, acts like you, has the sweetest little eyes.
Yeah.
So for all those listening, I mean, I don't know, it's quite an inspirational story. And here you are, teaching again.
Mm-hmm.
You've done some PE teaching, what? And
yeah, I have a little education background, but now I'm back at Orange Theory. I love Orange Theory.
Yeah.
I went back to it. You can't go wrong with it. I know you had Nick on the other day.
Yeah, I did.
We brought some balance to our lives.
Yeah.
Coleman going to preschool, me getting back into fitness.
Yeah.
Because my heart is to help people. It is.
Yeah.
Just be good to people, help them. I mean, my great Grammy Max always said, we have this video of her saying, her life, how she lived so long, be good to people and walk.
Be good to people and walk.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's like attitude and fitness.
And
like
your
taking
grandma
care of
is
yourself.
still alive.
That was my great-grandma.
Great-grandma.
My grandma, my mom and my grandma are on their way up today, actually, 93.
Oh, hi, ladies. I'm sure you'll watch this later.
Yes. Yeah.
She's 93, and I sat and talked with her.
And I tell people all the time, she's wonderful. I learned about a lot of the basic health principles like antioxidants and superfoods from her. And you should talk to her about supplements sometime.
Oh, I will. She was great. I mean, she's like so with it.
Yeah.
Which is foreign to me because all my grandparents died young.
Uh-huh.
So when someone's in their 90s, I'm like, what?
Yeah, she's very with it.
Okay, so 2 questions I have to ask you before we wrap this up.
Yes.
One is, do you have a mantra that you live by?
So one of the things, I don't know how this came up in me, but I always say things have a way of working themselves out. And a lot of this, like, look back to all the things we just talked about. Like, whether you trust in God, a greater being, a friend, family, so whatever it is, like, you have to learning to put your support, your faith, like giving up control, basically, and just knowing that things are going to work out. Because the worry, the stress, what's it going to do?
It's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
The worry and the stress.
Things always have a way of working out.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And then you just answered my second question, but I'd like you to rephrase it.
Yes.
Or not even rephrase it, but say it again. If there is something someone told you in your life that you still use to this day that has been very impactful to you, what would it be?
Oh, gosh. How can I rephrase that?
Yeah, or just say it again.
Like just figuring out how to surrender. Surrender is the word I want to use.
Yeah.
Give that control up.
And what about what your Grammy said?
With being good to people.
Yeah. That one. Sorry.
And be good to people.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, really quick, is finding the joy. I heard this recently from a mom, and she talked about, like, if you're in an unhappy place in life, just making the decision to choose to be joyful in the situation, whatever it is. Getting ready for a kid's birthday party, or prepping for a party, or dinner with the family. Those life moments that can be stressful, just find the joy.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Thank you for being one of my best friends.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Of course, it was so fun. Thank you all for listening. Any comments, feedback? If you want to get a hold of Anna Prosser, we'll put her Instagram maybe. Is that a good place to DM her if you have any questions? I appreciate you watching the Yes We Can podcast. Hopefully, you guys can continue to watch. If you can subscribe, like, comment, send to your people. We'd love for you to share us. Thank you so much.